Good afternoon, Dean Riley, Dr. Devine, judges, and audience members. My name is Scott Sheplak. First, I want to get some humor out of the way. Across the campus, there's a building that's housed with a bunch of geologists. What kind of music do you think they listen to?
Rock.
Got it, rock music. All right, all funniness aside, back to my academic research here. As Dr. Riley indicated, my talk is on the hurricane relief efforts for Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. You can see by the size of the storm, that's how big it was. Just some things about Hurricane Maria. It was about a year and a half ago that it hit. When it did, it was a Category 4 hurricane. It dumped about 20 inches of rain in about a 24-hour period. About 3,000 people have died in this storm, this natural disaster. And this has become the new focusing event within the emergency management field. What did I do in this research? I applied 4 criteria or phases from Dr. Schneider's book on natural disasters and how you can evaluate whether or not the response efforts were a success or failure. And I did this and I applied this in Puerto Rico. Now on to some results, some partial summary of some of my results. And here's some 4 quadrants that it just turned out. Like I said, these are the 4 criteria along with some of the important results. The first phase is the milling process. This is when people start wandering around, wondering what happened. And that's actually, these are photos from Puerto Rico. The second phase is rumor circulation. This is when people start circulating rumors as it suggests. How many people died? What are the extent of the damages? The third phase down here is keynoting. These are when symbols and themes begin to emerge from the event. In Puerto Rico, people realized that this was a very bad storm. And then after that phase is the emergent norms. This is like the new normal, what happens after the keynoting. And people realize that it's going to take a long time to recover from this storm. Here's a picture of a couple in a house. There were a lot of homes damaged. That people didn't have power, no phones, no running water. What were some of the other conclusions that I had based on this research? Well, as you can see up there, the damage was widespread. As I previously indicated, the 4 phases were easily identified and distinct in Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. The gap as far as the damages up there that you see, because of the extent of the storm, it was so big it just overwhelmed the local responders. That's another fancy word for that is the bureaucratic norms. The emergent norms and the bureaucratic norms, there's a gap, and if the gap is very large, it's deemed to be a failure according to Schneider's criteria, and in this case, there was a very large gap. The storm was so big, the local responders just couldn't handle it. They were absolutely overwhelmed. So based on her criteria, there was a failure in the response effort in Puerto Rico. Why else was there a failure? Well, there was a public perception of a failure. As you can see up there, the morgues were overflowing with bodies. They were storing these bodies and showing this on the news. Like I said, there were 3,000 people that died. These were in refrigerated semi-tractor trailers. There was a blame game between the local responders and the feds. That's a picture of 2 people slinging mud, and somebody asked who did this, and they start pointing fingers. Well, that happened with the local responders and the federal government. And the 4th conclusion I had was this could become a new chapter in her book. That's at a minimum what I'm hoping or thinking on my research. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Scott.